Hey, welcome back to Third Season Cooking. My goodness, it's been a month, maybe more. Oh, I'd love to say I was depressed after the Jets lost, but meh, didn't really care that much. Just got super busy, went through a home renovation, and didn't get around to making an episode. But here we are. So I've been trying to figure out what the next episode is going to be, and tonight I decided to do pasta. I'm also wearing a Open Championship shirt in honor of the Open being this week. Cheers. Little Patent 5 Purple Blossom Gin and Tonic. I like it. I'm going to make a half batch of pasta, and then I'm going to go through and show you how to make 5 different, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, sure, let's go 5 different types of noodles. There was only 3. No, it's 5. Okay, first off, I use a lot of scales. So this is my little baby scale. I use that for measuring out spices. This is my bigger scale, and I use this for measuring out things that are in bigger numbers. So to do a basic pasta, put your bowl on, tear it out so it's 0, and then because I'm only making a half batch, I'm going to use about 100 grams of flour, and this is just all-purpose flour, nothing special, nothing fancy. The fancy flour comes in a little bit later. And a little bit more. Now 100 is plus or minus because we're going to be adding some flour later on as well. Because what I find is once you start mixing it by hand, you then need to add a little bit more. Okay, so we're just going to move that around the bowl a little bit, make a little well, and not a big deal. And we're going to add our egg. Okay, at this point we don't really need the scale anymore, so we'll get rid of the scale. The egg, homemade pasta is really simple, and it comes together really easily. The problem with it is it's so simple it's almost flavorless, so you have to add a lot of salt to the water and to the pasta and to your dishes as well. A tablespoon of water, which I pre-measured, and then I like to add a tablespoon of oil. This is olive oil. Again, 15 bucks a liter. Oh well. That's the price of eating with joy, I suppose. Okay. And then we're going to pop that in. Okay. And we're done. Now all we do is we mix together our egg, oil, and water, like this so. And as we're mixing this together, we eventually start incorporating some of the flour into it. And as this gets mixed in more and more, you start seeing where it doesn't quite mix as well with the fork. And so we have to get in there with our hands. And so we're going to do that here. And then all we do is we just sort of blend together the flour, oil, egg, and water. I guess if you wanted, you could add a bit of salt. If you were wanting to make a flavored pasta, this is probably where you would start doing that. You might throw in some lemon juice or lemon zest for lemon pasta, clearly. If you wanted to make a more seasoned pasta, you would do that. If you wanted to do spinach pasta, I'm guessing you would throw in some, why would you do that? Anyways, I'm sure some people like it. You would add it in here and maybe lower the amount of liquid you're adding. So as you see this coming together, you can start to notice it's still pretty sticky, eh? So I'm going to add a little bit more flour. So I do this by feel and by look. So I'm going to say that's probably in the neighborhood of a tablespoon or so of flour. So 100 grams plus a tablespoon. Mix that up. And as you're mixing this up, you're going, oh, it's still a little too sticky. So we're going to add another tablespoon or so of flour. That should be enough. At least if it's not, we can always add more. And what we do is just sort of mix that in. And as you're pulling this together, you're going to notice how your pasta dough is going to subtly start grabbing it together. And it's going to go from having the whiteness of the flour to the more yellowness of the pasta that you're expecting. If you've added a bit too much flour, you just add a touch more water. But at this point, the measurements you're adding are really small. Okay, so like a tablespoon or so of flour at a time. I'm pretty certain this is going to come together, so I'm not going to worry about adding any more water. We're just going to work it a bit. And now you'll often see where people are making pasta, they just make it on the bench, on the countertop. You're fine to do that if you want to. I like putting it in a bowl and mixing it in a bowl just because it keeps everything a little bit more in one place, a little bit easier to clean up when you're done. The great thing about homemade pasta is, as you can see, this has not taken long at all. And what's happened is you're making this, the last batch I made with 100 grams of flour and then adding the extra couple of tablespoons, the egg, the water, and the oil. It was about 190 grams by the time I was done. Now, I'm not sure about exactly how much that would be in the store, but I'm guessing you're probably looking at what, $5, $7, $8 or more for fresh made pasta in the store, for a 175 gram package of pre-made pasta. And here you can see this is now almost completely pulled together. I'm just going to work it a little bit more and then work it a little bit with our hands just to get a feel for it. And get it light a little bit. And we can see that it pulls together so nicely. Notice how that white flour has just incorporated beautifully into the pasta. So what you do with this now is you would put a saran wrap over top of it, cover it in saran wrap, let it rest for at least half an hour to an hour. I prefer to make mine the day before and then put it in the fridge and then pull it out to let it warm up. Pasta dough. Okay. Now, what I've done here is I've added, this is semolina flour. Semolina flour I get at the bulk store here. You can also buy it in different places. And it's a really hard flour and it's used for making pasta, surprisingly enough. Okay. So I have, this is 1/5 of one of those. I've pre-rolled out some pastas so that I can demonstrate a couple different kinds, because it does take a few passes through the pasta machine to get it to this size. Now, if you have a hand rolling pasta machine, that's fine. You can use your hand rolling pasta machine. If you don't have if you have an electric pasta maker like I have, sorry, not electric, not maker, like a KitchenAid with a pasta attachment like I have, then this becomes much more simple. I am going to try and roll one up by hand briefly, but I'll probably get bored of that and not bother. Okay, so let's go over to the pasta machine. Okay, so I have, this is the flat pasta maker head, and I've got it set on 1. I put it to 3, speed 3, and the first time through, hopefully this isn't super noisy, we'll find out. The first time through, it comes out kind of shaggy, pretty thick, and I like to move it around a couple times. So I tend to do these in 4s, 2 each side. Doesn't matter if it gets bumped around a bit. I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to douse with a little flour, and then 3rds, and then a fold over. So I did that with those other 3 there. And what you end up doing is just, you want everything to get incorporated. And so we put it back into the machine, and we're going to go through 4 passes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you had multiple balls of dough to do, you would let this rest in between and do the next one. We're going to change this to number 2. Okay, back on, and I'm going to run it through the machine on 2. And you can start seeing how it starts getting thinner, a little bit longer. If parts of it fold over, don't worry about it. It'll all come out in the end. And again, I like to do 4 passes. More if you want, less if you want. Follow your heart. I think that 4 is the right number for me. It works. Okay, so we're going to go up to setting number 3 and back on. And the first time through, it takes a little while for the dough to catch, and then it slowly runs it through. And after that, it goes a lot faster because it's rolled out. But you'll notice that you want to start getting very gentle with the dough, because as it gets thinner and thinner, even though it's holding together, you still want it, you don't want it to tear. So if I were doing multiple balls of dough, I wouldn't turn the machine off in between. But for this purpose, we do. Okay? And then back into the 4th setting. Again, I like my machine on 3 or 4. That way it has enough speed to go through and not get caught up. But you have to be a little bit cautious, and it doesn't go so fast that it just tears at your dough. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see how it's getting nice and thin. And one more. Now, if you want, lasagna, you take that and you would cut it, square it off if you want to, make it into a different size. If you're making bigger dough balls, you're going to have longer ones. Again, cut it down so that you can pop that into a boiling pot of water, salted water, for about 2-3 minutes, and you've got a lasagna noodle. Okay, so 1. All right, next. The other thing is I'm just going to flour this so that it doesn't stick together when I fold it over. Next, we're going to make fettuccine. So for that, we're going to clean the head. And if you have one of these, you never put these in water. You just brush off the remnants of the flour. And if you have a hand crank, it's the same thing. You just brush off the flour. Okay. This goes back in. This is the fettuccine head. It says right on it. We're going to take the next pasta dough. And again, I'm going to set my machine to 3 or 4. 3 it is. And we just let it feed through, let the machine go. Now, I don't know if it's my machine, if it's my dough, or what. But what I find is you end up having to separate out the little fettuccine noodles into their own selves. And what I would do if I were doing a lot of these is, as I do this, I would then mix this around a bit more with the semolina, like I'm about to do, just like that, so that it gets all nice and covered in flour. Okay, all right, that's two kinds of pasta. You know the reference to the count. Away we go. So we're going to clean that off, just so we don't forget to put that back. And now we're going to make angel hair pasta. So again, one of the great things about fresh pasta is how fast it cooks, right? Like we're talking 3 minutes in boiling salted water and you got yourself pasta. So we have another lasagna noodle at present. And in about 40 seconds, we're going to have angel hair pasta. And this head tends to just work. So I'm just going to add a little bit more semolina to that. And there we have angel hair versus fettuccine. Okay. So to do pasta number 4, lasagna, fettuccine, angel hair, pappardelle. Pappardelle is a very thick noodle, wide, not thick, but wide. And so all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to roll this up and take my knife, and about an inch or so, not so much on that last one, we're going to roll it. We're going to have the end bit there. A pappardelle can be, especially with homemade pappardelle, like this, man. This is fantastic. You roll that out, a little bit of semolina, a couple 3 minutes in hot boiling salted water, and then into a nice, rich, thick sauce. Just going to hold all that sauce, and it's going to be so good, so good. Okay, 1 lasagna, fettuccine, angel hair, pappardelle. Finally, we are going to really quickly, because this is, I never do this. I rarely do this. I almost never do this, is roll it up by hand. Okay, so we're just going to roll that out. And we can see that it's a little sticky. Of course it is. Okay. And what you want to do is just flip it around, be gentle. Now, this is probably something you might do if you wanted to make a pappardelle, but you would do this if you want to make maybe like a soup noodle, or you don't have a noodle machine and you want to do something really quick and fast. Way to go. Okay. So, if I were thinking to myself, that's pretty close. If you look at the thinness of the machine, and you look at the thinness of this one, not too bad. So you could either keep this in this shape and make it into a lasagna. I would square it off. Boop, boop, yeah. Or you could roll it up and make it into pappardelle. Let's do that. That way it feels like it's complete. And we roll it up. Cut, cut, cut. There we go. The beautiful thing about homemade pasta is you want it to look homemade. That way people know you've made it, right? Otherwise, just bought it from package. This way, you can say, hey, I did something special. I made you pasta today. Okay, there you go. Pappardelle, hand rolled and machine rolled, angel hair, fettuccine, and finally, lasagna. Okay, now into a big pot of boiling water with a fair bit of salt. Oh, the one thing you do need to do as well, sorry, I forgot about this, is to dry it out. So once it's like this, if you throw it into a pot of boiling water, it might just become flour and water again. After 24 hours, it's dry like this. Okay, so I'm going up to a cottage this weekend, so this bag of pasta is coming with me. Also, you don't have to let it sit for 24. If you want to have it, if you're making dinner in 2 or 3 hours, that's probably enough for it to settle out. Just cover it in lots of semolina, spin it around like that. Okay, so I'm glad you're back. I'm glad I'm back. It's been one of those months where every time I tried to get together to do a show, it never happened. Thanks for watching. I hope you have the opportunity to try some pasta. This is amazing stuff and so simple, right? No time at all. Cheers to everyone. Special shout out to Diego in Portugal. I've been looking at Portuguese recipes. I'm not a big fan of salted cod, dude, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. But I think I've got something else to make. Anywho, hope you're having a great summer, and cheers to the open, and cheers to you for watching. Don't forget, like, reply, hit the bell, send me a note, tell me what else you'd like to see me cook. Maybe you want to see me cook something with pasta again from scratch. We'll see. Anyways, cheers. Have a great night. Bye now.